Everybody, welcome to my kitchen. My name's Chef Connie Powers and you're watching Farm to Fork. Today I'm going to take you on a tour right on the border of Ontario and Quebec. We found ourselves this summer in the Timiskaming Shores area and we went to Earlton, Ontario. We went to visit a farmer that previously was in the Kawartha Lakes, and she's gone up to join her family to farm there. When we were there, we met the coolest family. We're going to be taking you on a farm called Regele Farm. It's owned by Chris and Anna Regle, but the most important part is there are 5 children on this farm, and you will enjoy that part of it. So the Regle family found themselves in a situation in 2015 where they had a devastating fire loss, and they had to make a decision whether they were going to continue farming or whether they were going to get out of farming. It was in their blood, so they kept farming, and they began a robotic dairy farm, and that's where we're going. Today, we are going to be making 2 recipes from the Dairy Farmers of Ontario calendar, 2016 and 2021. The thing about this tour was that when we were there, very quickly, the 5 children impressed us of what they knew. So we decided today that we're going to cook some kid-friendly food. Let's get out of the box and let's make some mac and cheese and let's make some pudding without a box. We're going to start off with any kind of frying pan, cast iron, something non-stick to help you out. It's an easy recipe. All you have to do is assemble the ingredients. And this is a great way to get kids in the kitchen. So this is a recipe that I make with my grandson. So, Bo, what can you make macaroni and cheese with?
Macaroni.
What else?
Cheese.
Cheese. But the most important ingredient?
Milk.
That's right. And he cooks it. All I have to do is pre-assemble a little bit of the ingredients, and then he knows what to do. We're going to start off with a roux. So that is about 60 grams of unsalted butter. Now I find when you're cooking with the younger generation right now, they want metric. They don't get if you're saying ounces. So my grandson really enjoys it when I say 60 grams, he pictures that. 60 grams of butter, and we're going to get that to melt. And now I'm going to put in a 1/3 cup of flour, and I'm going to let that cook into the butter. It's best to really let that cook in so that you don't get a flour taste. Basic roux. And so when you're showing this to a child, to a young cook, they get it. This is the basis of a lot of different sauces. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in 3 cups of fresh milk. I've used whole milk here. Pour it in a little bit slowly and you won't get lumps. So as you're pouring in this roux, just keep stirring. So on the farm, these 5 children that are on this farm, they're very engaged with the process. And when I saw the 5 children come out, I realized I was going to be interviewing a family, and I thought Mom and Dad would be the authorities and the kids would just chime in. But it didn't happen that way, and it was so surprising. So Anna and Chris have raised these children to take responsibility for the livestock, and they just knew the business so well that we all loved it. All right, I'm going to turn my heat up, and when this starts to thicken, then I can add in some more ingredients. So what I've done previous is I pre-cooked the pasta, and we had to choose. So my grandson sometimes likes shells and sometimes he likes macaroni. So we chose macaroni today. And what I do is I boil it in advance, and then I toss it with a little butter. I cool it before I'm going to add it to the sauce. The reason I do that is so that you don't get an overcooked pasta and you don't get a lot of water. So I'm just breaking this up because there's enough butter on it to make it break up nice. The cheese choices you use. You can use cheddar, you can use white cheddar, orange cheddar, mozzarella, Parmesan, anything that's in your fridge, as long as it's not processed cheese. The thing is that a lot of people would like a little bit of an orange color to it. I've got you covered there. We're going to just put in a little tiny bit of paprika. It gives you that orange color. But let's get their sauce to start thickening. Good. All right, you see that our roux's become a very smooth and silky. Now this is a one pot dish again. We're going to make it all in here and then it's going to bake in the oven. We did have to pre-cook the macaroni, but that's just a real quick thing. Now, you could remember, whatever cheese you're using, that's how much salt you're going to judge. So if you're using a high salt content cheese, you don't really need to put much salt in it. But we're just using a Scottish cheddar. It's dry and it's sharp, but I still want to use a little bit of salt. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in 3 cups of shredded cheese. Look for the blue logo. That means it's Ontario Dairy. All right, so that cheddar that we've used is starting to melt nicely. Now, we're not going to go completely without vegetables. I have just parboiled a little bit of broccoli and some beans. Now, these aren't just any beans. As we were ending the tour, Claire came out. Now, Claire was 9 at the time of the shoot. Claire came running out and said, "Would you like to buy some of my beans? They're from my very own garden." I challenge you to say no to that. So we bought as many beans as Claire could get for us, and we're using those beans today, and we're going to put them into our cheese sauce. So we have Claire's beans, and we have just a little bit of pre-cooked broccoli. Look at that. That's going to give us some consistency, some nutrition, some color, and there you have it. Now at this point, you could put in a little bit of mustard. You could put in some shallots. There's so many things you could add differing to the tastes of your family. This is where I'm going to add in just the tiniest bit, a little less than a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. It's going to give us some color. If you like things a little spicier, you could put in a little bit of hot sauce or a little bit of chili powder. And there you have it. We're getting a little bit of a nicer color than just the blandness of the white cheddar. Then I'm going to add in the macaroni. So this is about 250 grams of uncooked macaroni. Let me tell you something. If you are going to buy anything for your kitchen or your young cook, buy them a very inexpensive scale. This takes care of a lot of weighing in the kitchen. We're going to add in our pre-cooked and slightly buttered with unsalted butter macaroni, and we're going to stir that in. Now you'll see there's a lot of sauce. Good, because the last thing you want to do is put this in the oven and then have too much macaroni to the sauce. The recipe at the end will be in the metric system, and it will be exactly what I'm making today. All right, I'm going to stir that up. The nice thing about this is this could be made by the young cook. This could be made by anyone quickly while another thing is being made, and your meal is coming together. Now, in this cup, I have about 1/2 cup of panko breadcrumbs. I have some Parmesan cheese that I've grated, a little bit of salt, and we're going to just combine that up. Now, there is a little bit of salt content, so that's going to add a nice topping. We're going to add a little bit of a topping. So in this, I have about 2/3 to 1/2 cup of panko breadcrumbs. I have some grated Parmesan, so there's some salt content. And to that, I'm going to add about 15 grams of melted butter, unsalted again. It would just get too salty if we're adding all of this. This just adds a little bit of an insulation for your sauce to not dry out in the oven. We're going to put this on top of the macaroni. and cheese, and then we are going to put that into the oven at about 350 for about 30 minutes. Now you could add a little bit of parsley if you wanted, whatever would suit your family. And there you have it. That's ready for the oven, and that'll take about 30 minutes, and you'll have a delicious mac and cheese without the box. We are going to clean up from this. When we come back, we're going to make a delicious pudding made with some milk. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Farm to Fork. I'm Chef Connie Powers. We're going to start a pudding that it uses Ontario fresh milk, and it is from the Ontario Dairy Farmers calendar of 2016. It's an unusual, it's very basic vanilla pudding, except it has a little bit of a rose water. You can substitute that if your family doesn't suit that. So we're going to start off with 4 cups of whole milk. So when we were on the farm, at the Regle farm, we met the 5 children, and the children were from ages 13 to the ages of 9, and each one of them told us what their role was. So we had Carter, Cohen, Shane, I have to look, Chase, and Claire, and they were fascinating in what they knew, and they were so eager to share it with us. We're going to scald this milk, get it to a degree where we can add the sugar and the further ingredients. We're going to take you on the tour. Enjoy this. We're on the farm of Anna and Chris Regle, and we are about to see a robotic dairy farm. We drove up all of the sunflowers. They're heading that way, so I suspect that that's sun over there.
Yep.
We have an overcast day, but it's going to be a beautiful tour. Come on along with us. Where did you learn how to farm?
So this is, we purchased this from the neighbors. My parents live on the next farm south of us, and Chris's actually farm was kitty corner to us that he moved up from Stratford area 20 years ago now, actually.
Is dairy farming brand new to you?
Nope. Raised on the farm. So Chris's family had Holsteins and my family had Jerseys. So it was a little bit of a conflict when we got together of what are we going to milk?
Now is
mostly Jerseys, yes.
And always been.
So I also researched a little bit about a devastating fire you had in 2014.
Correct.
That's led you to a new system of farming.
Correct. So we moved to the robotic, more automated kind of farming after our fire. With having 5 kids, chores always seems to fall the same time that soccer practice and baseball practice and kids concerts and all that kind of good stuff. So
Tonight I'm soccer.
Yep.
You have to have the extracurricular. It can't be all about farming.
That's right.
Or else somebody's not going to be happy about being a farmer.
That's very true.
Anna and Chris are going to take us into the barn right now, and all of the other farmers in this family are taking us as well. So how many acres do you have in total?
We run about 700 acres.
Is it mostly dairy that you do? Do you have any cash crop? Do you have anything else that's going on the farm? Is it a dairy farm?
It's mainly a dairy farm, but we have purchased a few acres in the past couple of years that has introduced us into more cash crop. So there is a cash crop aspect of the dairy farm.
So you grow what you feed your animals, or do you subsidize that entirely? You grow what they eat?
Majority of what it is what we have grown, but there is a little bit of a pellet that we like to give them, just that includes their minerals and a little bit of energy for them, but majority, all the forages are grown here on the farm.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's go in the barn.
So the way this one is, it is a free choice, so they can go whenever they would like to be milked. So we call it a box over there, but what it is, it's gated in, so they go in and the gate's closed so that they're not bugged by any other cows, one at a time. Correct. And so that they're protected in there, and then there's a robotic arm that comes underneath and puts on the milker and milks the cows. So the nice part is that they come in through one by one whenever they have that urge that needs to be milked.
One thing's
How do they
hard.
know? They just feel the fullness?
I think so. We do also feed them and supplement them with that pellet that I was talking about earlier. So we call it the candy. So it kind of entices them come a little bit to the robot a bit more. It's kind of, you get your snack there, you get your ice cream, your dessert, whatever, and you go there and they get that. And then they kind of go and stand there and be quiet and get milk. So it works really well.
They try and go like a lot of times so they can get more food. If there's so like certain cows, if they don't have enough milk, they'll get milk, and then if the robot does not get enough milk from them, then it will go onto our list on the computer, and so that's one of the jobs, and we would have to put them in and help them connect. So like some cows you would have to set a prolong, so that makes them try to get as much milk as they can at like 5 minutes. But we would wait a minute, and if that teat is not producing milk, we would take it off. So that means it doesn't get milk for like that time they went in.
Cows has a calf and it's a male. What do you do with that male?
So sometimes we would keep them for ourselves, like some of them in there.
A good
Yeah.
Genetic.
bowl.
Yeah.
We would keep it for
Other
better heifers for better milking.
But then you can only use that one generation and then the bull goes to another farm, or do you process it for meat?
Process it for meat mostly.
And do they ever go out of here?
When our cows they have what we call a dry period. So they stop milking for 2 months while they're getting ready to have their calf. And so that's when in the summer we send them, summer and late fall, early spring, usually from May till October. They'll go outside and be able to pasture then.
But they love that.
And
And then when they have a calf, when do you start milking? Right away?
as soon as possible is best.
So
Yeah.
they'll have the calf in the pasture, and then we would have somebody checking the cows daily to see if there's any calf. And then if there was, we bring them to like one of those mid pens, and then we would bed it, put them in there, and then we would milk the cow. We would actually put them right there in there, and then we would milk them with a different robot compared to there, because supposedly.
What about that colostrum? Do you take that first and give that to the calf?
So we have, Carter was just about to say, we have a bucket milker that collects just that milk and goes straight to the calf. And that calf gets 3 to 6 feedings of just mom's milk for the first feedings. So it is very important.
And then it uses the
What's that called? The
calf feeder.
calf feeder that get milk powder.
Had twins that it's number 70 on her car, and we put her in there and used the automatic milker, and then we put her in there just for her to get the regular milk out, and then we let her just like sit and relax.
Yeah. So
She had 2 of them.
So they go into there and they actually get in heat, and then the bull does his thing, and then once, like after a couple, I don't know how long is it, a couple months in there, and then we bring them out to the pasture.
7 months.
7 months.
7 months, and then we bring them out to the pasture for the extra 2 months.
So there are tests. They're still working on those. There are some tests. There is a blood test. There is a milk too test as well. Not 100% accurate.
I feel they're ready to take over.
Did you even know this?
I don't know what they're talking about.
And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that. We enjoyed being on that farm because it gave us that faith in kid power. Kids can do anything. And this entire menu today is based on allowing kids to have a little bit of freedom in the kitchen. So this is simple. My grandson likes chocolate pudding. Today we're going to stay away from the chocolate, and we're going to make a basic vanilla pudding that you can add your own flavorings to. We have 4 cups of milk and about a ½ cup of sugar. The milk is just starting to scald. Be careful when you're making a pudding that it doesn't scald to the bottom of your pan. I have 1/3 cup of cornstarch. So that's 4 cups of milk, ½ cup of sugar, and a 1/3 cup of cornstarch. That's going to start to thicken. This is where I'm going to change over to a whisk. and maybe turn my heat down and just start whisking. And what I'm looking for is that nice viscosity of a pudding. It's going to start thickening, getting a little bit glossy, and this is where you don't leave it. Okay, I see it starting to thicken up, and this is where I'm going to add in my flavoring. I'm going to add in something that maybe isn't familiar to all of you. We're going to be using rose water. Now, this beckons to a Middle Eastern dish called mahalabia, and it is a delicious pudding, but it would be made with rice flour and not cornstarch. That's the only difference. So you're going to add in, I would say, about 2 teaspoons of rose water. It's very gentle. It's not overpowering. Try it. If you don't like it, you can leave it out. You can also add in about a teaspoon of vanilla. This is a vanilla bean paste. You'll see it's coming out quite thick. I use this because I like the depth of flavor I get from it. Okay, we're going to remove this from the heat. You can see that it has thickened to a nice pudding consistency. We're going to let the bubbles settle down. Now we're going to put these into glass dishes. You could put it into one bowl. Now this is where you could also, while you're cooking it, and be patient because it took a little bit of time to thicken, this is where you could add a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of cocoa. You could add any kind of flavoring that suits your family. So, my grandmother used to even fold in a little bit of coconut, something that suits the meal. And so we're going to put this into our dessert dishes. It will thicken up as it cools. It's quite nice now, but it will start to thicken. You can smell the rose. So you can look at about 1 cup of milk per serving. If it's for a child, maybe a little bit less. All right, I'm going to put that to soak, and I'm going to begin to dress it. Take those out. So the nice thing to dress this with, you could put cinnamon on it. The real way to make that rose flavor stand out, I'm going to dress it with a little bit of pistachios. I'm going to put crushed pistachio nuts along the edge. And then I am going to put a little bit of fresh macerated strawberries in the middle. And there you have it. This was not difficult to make. You pre-assemble a few things for a young person, a young cook in your family, they can make this. This entire meal could be made by a child. I'd like to thank the Regle family for the tour that they took us on. Most importantly, the 5 kids who showed us that they could keep that livestock healthy, they could keep that farm going. They are the next generation. Bye.